In the high deserts of Nevada, a secret Air Force base sat hidden behind fences and whispers, designated Area 51. The world believed it was a playground for aliens. The truth? Far more startling. In the 1980s, a U.S. Air Force colonel walked into a bar near Groom Lake with doctored flying saucer photos, part of a deliberate Pentagon campaign to cloak a secret reality, the testing of America's first stealth warplane, the F-117 Nighthawk. These were not alien saucers but cutting-edge aircraft built to vanish from radar. Yet the fabricated UFO stories spread, creating a smokescreen so effective that Soviet intelligence was left chasing lights in the sky. Now, a 2024 review by the Pentagon's AARO has pulled back the curtain. They've revealed corners of truth. The military itself manipulated UFO tales, even including staged briefings like the alleged Yankee Blue program for new recruits. This wasn't insider lore, it was official strategy. The question now isn't what's hidden at Area 51, it's why we weren't supposed to know. In the secluded Nevada desert lies Area 51, a place whose reputation once revolved around alien visitation. But the truth is far more calculated. In the 1980s, the U.S. Air Force was busy testing the F-117 Nighthawk, the world's first stealth aircraft, cutting-edge technology designed to evade radar detection. To protect these secret tests, Pentagon operatives devised a clever ruse. One such tactic involved an Air Force colonel who entered a bar near Area 51, carrying doctored flying saucer photographs. These images were left behind casually, sparking rumors and chatter. Soon enough, curious locals spotted the unusual lights of stealth jets overhead and chalked them up to alien spaceships. What they saw were top-secret warplanes, but the narrative shifted. It became UFO activity. Later, a disinformation program nicknamed Yankee Blue took shape. New commanders arriving at secret bases were briefed as though they were joining an alien research task force. They received photos, signed NDAs, and were sworn to absolute secrecy. Many believed wholeheartedly for years. The program continued until early 2023, when Pentagon leaders quietly ordered it to stop. This wasn't an accidental cover-up, it was strategic misdirection. According to a 2024 investigation by the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, these UFO narratives were intentionally seeded to mislead Soviet intelligence and bury the truth about cutting-edge tech. The strategy worked. UFO sightings soared, but secret jet operations remained concealed under the veil of myth. The result was enduring folklore. What began as a necessary security measure morphed into decades of cultural myth, alien conspiracies, Hollywood blockbusters, and civilian obsession. The same fabricated stories designed to shield military projects ultimately reshaped public belief in extraterrestrial life. In the early 2020s, a new office was quietly created, AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. Mandated by Congress in 2022, its mission was to finally examine decades of UFO claims with scientific rigor. By early 2024, AARO produced a landmark report. No aliens, no spacecraft, no bodies. Only disinformation and red herrings. The most striking discovery was how much of the UFO story came from the government itself. AARO investigators, including Tim Phillips, confirmed that many UFO narratives were not grassroots rumors but government-generated, a deliberate misdirection of covert technological tests. One retired official admitted that, in the 1980s, distributing doctored UFO photos near Area 51 was part of a Pentagon plan to shield stealth projects from Soviet surveillance. Another startling revelation involved an internal program ominously nicknamed Yankee Blue, in which new Air Force personnel received orientation briefings about an alleged task force that would reverse engineer alien technology. Many officers carried that delusion for years until a 2023 Pentagon memo quietly shut down the program. Even incidents once thought to defy explanation were reassessed. Take the infamous 1967 missile silo UFO sighting by Robert Salas. According to AARO, no extraterrestrial vessel was present. It was likely an electromagnetic pulse test, misinterpreted by officers in the field. These analyses suggest that the same U.S. government that once claimed ignorance now acknowledges its own role in planting and nurturing long-lasting myths. This fresh clarity arrived with caveats. AARO's 2024 report confirmed the lack of any alien evidence, including recovered hardware or remains, but also admitted that many UAP cases still remain unresolved due to insufficient data. Many sightings, they noted, were eventually traced to balloons, drones, or natural phenomena. Still, a percentage of cases remained unexplained and needed further investigation. What emerges is a portrait of a mythology shaped by intentional concealment. The UFO narrative, once thought to be the domain of extraterrestrials, now appears as a deliberate guise masking advanced human-made technology. And yet, some mysteries linger. AARO withheld parts of its findings, promising more revelations later in 2025. Perhaps the most enduring lesson is this: what we once believed were alien visitations might have been clever government smokescreens. As we sift through truth and spectacle, we must ask, where does myth end and reality begin? In the aftermath of AARO's revelations, a new truth emerged. The UFO phenomenon wasn't purely a grassroots mystery. It was a carefully nurtured myth, grown within the very institutions meant to protect the public. Investigators uncovered that, in the 1980s, an Air Force colonel had been quietly distributing fabricated flying saucer photos at a bar near Area 51, an official diversion designed to mask the Nighthawk's radar-defying tests. That same report describes how military leadership sanctioned this use of disinformation as a strategic tool. Worse yet, what started as a tactical ploy spiraled into cultural lore. Future generations of recruits were indoctrinated through the so-called Yankee Blue briefings, entering classified bases under the false pretense of working on alien reverse engineering programs. Some officers carried this belief with them for decades, until the program was shuttered in 2023. There was no extraterrestrial breakthrough, only layers of deception. These tactics were part of a broader strategy: to control the narrative. As the Wall Street Journal confirmed, the Pentagon deliberately sowed UFO narratives to mislead not just the public, but foreign intelligence services, especially during Cold War tensions. What seemed like alien visitations were in fact human-made maneuvers, woven into the fabric of folklore. But myth has a way of escaping its creators. Media outlets capitalized on leaked videos and sensational legends, turning Area 51 into a tourist attraction and a household phrase. Hollywood immortalized the fringe narrative, reinforcing public fascination and skepticism alike. Meanwhile, even policymakers, such as former Senator Harry Reid, were drawn into the vortex, funding paranormal research and lending credibility to dubious claims. Nightpost.com. Yet, when AARO cracked open the files in 2024, they didn't merely reveal what wasn't there: aliens, spacecraft, paranormal artifacts. They exposed what was: a legacy of obfuscation. The public report conceded that many UAP cases remain unexplained due to insufficient data. But the deeper truth lay in the disinformation threads woven by the institutions themselves. In stripping away alien fantasies, this investigation left us with an unsettling realization. Sometimes the most enduring mysteries are not in the skies. They're in the choices we make to manipulate them. In the aftermath of the original disinformation campaign, its effects rippled far beyond military circles. Doctored UFO photos gradually seeped into popular consciousness, fueling public fascination. But the most insidious strand of deception lay within the Air Force itself. Under code names like Yankee Blue, successive generations of personnel at classified bases were taught to believe they were serving on top-secret extraterrestrial research units. Officers received briefings, signed NDAs, and genuinely believed they were working with alien-derived technology. According to AARO, the program continued quietly through to early 2023, when it was finally shut down at the Pentagon's direction. This wasn't merely internal jostling, it was a calculated strategy that served multiple purposes. At its core, the disinformation campaign was meant to mislead both Soviet intelligence and curious civilians. Fabricated UFO reports and phony programs were woven into daily operations at secret sites like Area 51, ensuring any surveillance or whistleblowing was dismissed as paranoid alien obsession. In one classified briefing, subordinate officers reportedly explained that these stories were part of a larger effort to maintain strategic ambiguity and safeguard stealth technology tests. The strategy succeeded spectacularly. Skeptics and enthusiasts alike began equating Area 51 with alien visitation. How could something be so thoroughly hidden? It must be extraterrestrial. Hollywood leaned in, spawning countless movies and conspiracy podcasts. News media amplified each sighting and clipped every blurry video, It created a self-perpetuating mythology that even reached policymakers. Senator Harry Reid and others funneled federal funding into paranormal research projects until the program's roots were questioned. The strategy succeeded spectacularly. Skeptics and enthusiasts alike began equating Area 51 with alien visitation. How could something be so thoroughly hidden? It must be extraterrestrial. Hollywood leaned in, spawning countless movies and conspiracy podcasts. News media amplified each sighting and clipped every blurry video. It created a self-perpetuating mythology that even reached policymakers. Senator Harry Reid and others funneled federal funding into paranormal research projects until the program's roots were questioned. Yet, as AARO delved into Cold War archives in 2024, much of the so-called mystery unraveled. The infamous 1967 UFO sighting over the Malmstrom missile silo by Captain Robert Salas was not an alien spacecraft at all, but a misinterpreted electromagnetic pulse test, one that knocked out missile systems and was classified as sensitive national security material, not alien activity. Media outlets that once ran sensational headlines began revising the record, but the original myths persisted in public memory. The AARO report ultimately cataloged more than 1,600 cases of unidentified aerial phenomena. Roughly half were found to have mundane explanations: weather balloons, military drones, sensor errors. Of the remainder, most were deemed inconclusive due to limited data. Importantly, however, the report confirmed zero physical evidence of extraterrestrial origin, no hardware, no biological remains, no unknown materials. What remains is an uncomfortable legacy, a mythology crafted by government operatives, one that blurred the line between national security and collective delusion. These deliberate fabrications were never revealed by accident. They were actively seeded, nurtured, and kept alive. And now, after decades, we are left to question which UFO stories were real and which were expertly staged diversions. In the early 2025 milestones published by AARO and covered in various media, a sharper and more complex view of the UFO phenomenon emerged. By June 1, 2024, AARO had cataloged over 1,600 UAP reports, including 757 new incidents collected in the previous year. Most of these sightings, GPS blips, satellite flares, drones, balloons, were resolved quickly. However, about 444 cases remain open, awaiting more data. Crucially, 21 incidents were labeled by AARO as true anomalies, events its analysts could not explain with current information. The revelations didn't stop there. In a recent bombshell statement, Pentagon leadership confirmed that more classified findings from AARO, especially evidence of deliberate pranks, altered materials, and internal misinformation, will be released in a second volume of the historical record, expected later this year. These withheld details likely include internal memos, operational orders, and acknowledgments of false projects like Yankee Blue, instances that shape decades of UFO mythology. Critics and lawmakers are calling for broader transparency. A bipartisan group in the Senate introduced the UAP Disclosure Act, aimed at declassifying related Defense Department and intelligence files, invoking a model similar to the Presidential Records Act. In testimony to the Senate Armed Services Committee, AARO Director John Kozlowski affirmed that the Pentagon is now improving its reporting systems, working closely with allies to clarify the cases it considers anomalies, and pledging immediate notification to Congress if any are found to pose national security threats. This shift marks a watershed moment, an acknowledgement that some UFO reports were deliberately fostered, not by extraterrestrials, but by terrestrial strategy. The question now is not only what gases remain unexplained, but why government narratives intentionally redirected public and foreign intelligence toward aliens rather than classified weapons. As AARO prepares to release more internal findings this year, one truth is crystallizing. Some of the UFO stories floating in public imagination were engineered from the top down to obscure far more human secrets. In 2024 and early 2025, the U.S. government dramatically shifted its stance on UFO investigations, moving from secrecy toward increasing transparency. The All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, created in 2022, had by mid-2024 processed over 1,600 UFO-UAP reports, including 757 new cases just in the last year. Approximately half were resolved as mundane phenomena, drones, balloons, birds, while about 444 remained open, and 21 were deemed true anomalies with no current explanation. But the revelations extended further. AARO disclosed that its first public report omitted certain classified programs, such as the notorious Yankee Blue and other constructed narratives, because the Defense Department hadn't finished vetting the details. A second historic volume, expected in late 2025, is pledged to include documents like internal memos, operational directives, and records confirming deceptive practices. One Pentagon spokesperson acknowledged this upcoming release will cover reports of potential pranks and inauthentic materials, signaling a willingness to own past obfuscation. On the legislative front, a bipartisan ensemble in the Senate, including Schumer, Rounds, Rubio, and Gillibrand, introduced the UAP Disclosure Act in mid-2023. This amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act mandates that all UAP-related government records carry a presumption of disclosure to be managed through a centralized UAP records collection overseen by the National Archives. Similar proposals surfaced in the House later, thrusting declassification timelines 270 days after request into serious consideration. Institutional change accompanied the policy shift. AARO's director, John Kozlowski, confirmed the agency is ramping up reporting mechanisms, partnering with federal agencies like the FAA and select international allies to share data on transmedium sightings, air, sea, space. A push to normalize UAP reporting among military and civilian pilots is underway, alongside improved declassification staffing to accelerate future transparency. Meanwhile, NASA's independent UAP study, led by David Spergel, concluded in 2023 that while no extraterrestrial evidence was found, more robust data collection and sharing were urgently required. The emerging picture is clear. Some UFO stories were not grassroots unexplained mysteries. They were top-down narratives shaped by the government. As the UAP Disclosure Act progresses and Volume 2 of the historical record nears release, the central question evolves. Not whether UFOs exist, but why and to what effect. Did the government shape their legend? What began as secretive deflection is now trending toward required transparency. In the process, the UAP program is moving from hidden myth-making back toward public oversight, marking an institutional reckoning with its own history of obfuscation. In the final stretch of your documentary, we drill into a pivotal shift. What began as a cloak and dagger deception is being dismantled by transparency and oversight. By mid-2024, AARO had reviewed over 1,600 UAP reports, resolving about half, but leaving roughly 444 cases still open and 21 designated as true anomalies. These numbers alone turned the UFO discussion from fringe curiosity to credible national security concern. More crucially, internal AARO briefings revealed that the 2024 historical report deliberately omitted details. Documents related to programs like Yankee Blue, internal memos, and false flag tactics were excised. A second volume, due later in 2025, promises to expose these layers of intentional deception, proof that the military seeded myths with precision and intent. Simultaneously, Congress has stepped up. In mid-2023, figures including Senators Schumer, Rounds, Rubio, and Gillibrand introduced the UAP Disclosure Act via the NDAA, modeled on the JFK Records Act. It imposes a presumption of declassification on all UFO UAP records, with mandated release unless national security reasons apply. A companion bill in the House shortens declassification timelines to just 270 days. Beyond legislation, operational change is underway. AARO's director, John Kozlowski, has outlined efforts to centralize UAP data, standardize incident reporting across military and civilian agencies, and collaborate internationally on transmedium encounters, air, sea, space. They're investing in new case management systems to ensure thorough and timely analysis. Meanwhile, NASA's independent investigation, led by David Spergel, corroborated the absence of alien evidence, but emphasized the need for better data collection and transparency across agencies. What's emerging isn't just a chapter in UFO lore, it's an institutional reckoning. The government isn't merely acknowledging UFOs, it's admitting that it helped fabricate the myth. As the second volume is released and the UAP Disclosure Act presses forward, the core question evolves. Not whether UFOs exist, but why those narratives were created, and at what cost to public trust. In telling myths, governments wield power, not only over secrets, but over truth itself. The UFO phenomenon, once a symbol of cosmic wonder, now stands as one of the most powerful deceptions in modern history, engineered by those we trust to keep us safe.